it's a great thing for me throughout camp. You know, if I was outside looking in, I'd be saying to Sam, you know, stay away from Conah because I'm an handful. But
it's great for the area, for the region. You know, a big fight in Walsall, a big fight in Wolverhampton, a big fight in Birmingham. Big Sam against Big Conah. Simple as that. It would be the number one fight I'd put together for the Midlands.
Hello and welcome back to War or Nothing, the number one podcast for amateur and professional boxing across the UK and beyond. We're back with a jam-packed episode in what's been a crazy couple of weeks in the boxing world. We've had everything from NAC final drama to the matter of Conah Walker versus Sam Eggington, and all-Midlands clash and all-Midlands war. Here's what we'll be covering in this week's episode. I'll be talking about the NAC Finals, how I saw the competition play out from ringside, which thank you again to England Boxing for having me back, filming the action, and this time interviewing the boxers before and after their fights. We'll have news from across the professional ranks. Like I said, Conah Walker versus Sam Eggington being top of the bill there, the fight that had everybody talking about the toughness of the Midlands fighters. We have the matter of Galal Yafai versus Ricardo Sandoval, now the headline show in Sheffield at the Utilita Arena, I think I'm pronouncing that right, for the WBC World Flyweight title on June the 6th. That is, of course, Galal's chance to become the second Yafai to win a world title after his brother Cal became Birmingham's super flyweight world champion in 2016. I'll also be talking about enjoying a visit to Sky Sports, and thank you very much to the team there, Sky Sports Boxing. You cannot get a better team. I'll get into that. And then interviewing one of my heroes in Steve BUNCE in the Conah Walker, Sam Eggington build-up, the press conference, and everything else in between. So let's dive right into the NACs. And of course, this is one of the highlights of the year for any amateur boxing fan because it is the best of the best, the most elite in the country going head to head. Of note for me were a couple of boxers that I followed from last year's NACs. And I'll just say this much. Last year's NACs was so good, and it's no surprise that over 10 I counted of the boxers that won last year, or at least competed last year, have now turned over into the professional rank. You know, be that for money, be that it was always the plan and that's just what's materialised after. You can't really get a bigger platform for an amateur boxer. I describe it to football people as the World Cup final for amateur boxers. And I think that still rings true. This year we had the finals held at the same arena, which was Derby Arena. And it's such a fantastic occasion and just space for amateur boxers to come and do their thing. And essentially, you know, they've got the most eyes on them and they want to look good. And I think that is the right venue. That is the right place for them to do that. So like I said, I followed a couple of boxers. And how I select boxers to follow, there's no real rhyme and reason, only in that, I mean, you can't predict who's going to win, but I like to imagine that, you know, I can follow a certain amount of boxers all the way through the tournament. So perhaps I'm looking at the way they box, the run they've got, or just sometimes, you know, it is the fact that they are very good in front of camera, they give a good interview, and it's just easy to work with them. So one of those was Amo Singh, and of course I've done plenty of work with Amo. We shot a podcast just after the regional final rounds where he faced clubmate Robbie Lacourt, which absolutely fascinated me as a boxing fan because every time two boxers from the same gym have to compete, it's always a bit of a tricky one. Fascinating in the sense of, you know, as a journalist, first and foremost, I wanted to know how it works, the ins and outs. Do they still train at the same time, at the same gym? Is there any, you know, shift in emotion towards fight night? You know, how do they navigate this already kind of difficult scenario? So that podcast that we shot will be going live shortly. There's been a bit of a delay, so I do apologise. The idea that was going to go up before, you know, the national rounds, but as always, life got in the way. I think going forward with this podcast, I'm going to try and just kind of be less perfect with it and ramble a bit and less scripted and just kind of get it up and get it out so I can react quicker to the boxing news and get things out, because I'm sure those that sit down with me for interviews don't really appreciate having to wait that long for their interview to go live. It does tend to lose a bit of relevance, but this one is not the case. It's still very relevant because, like I said, it's the matter of fighting a club mate, which is always interesting. So as we now know, Amo Singh won the regional final against Robbie Lacourt, but by all accounts, it was an interesting kind of all-action, all-out fight. I forget the name of the venue, but I was live streaming, as you'll hear in the podcast. I was trying to live stream the fight. I think it was his partner that was live streaming it on Instagram, and I was sitting there waiting to go into work. I work nights, and they're desperately trying to find out, the result of this bout before I had to go into work, and I didn't get the result. And I was speaking to Amo about it. You'll hear all about it in the podcast that we did. Like I say, that will be going live on the YouTube channel. By the time this goes out, may already well beat up. So yeah, but his run, Amo Singh's run in the NACs was fantastic to watch. So in the quarterfinals at the Magna Centre in Rotherham, forgive me, I spend that much time at different venues that sometimes they all blur into one, but the Magna Centre, another great venue, looks terrific on camera. They've got all the nice lights on the walls and stuff. Yeah, looks great. But he faced Alishan Anwar in the quarterfinals, and very good display. Flash, I think Ricardo, his coach, was calling out for him to keep his hands up. Amo likes to keep his hands down when he's feeling it and in the flow, I think, and much to the stress of his coaches, but did the job. Very, very solid performance against Alishan Anwar. And then he moved on to the semi-finals where he faced David Pagado, who had beat a very, very strong and very talented boxer in Osama Mohammed from Lions Amateur Boxing Club in the West Midlands, where I'm from. Beat a very good Osama Mohammed. So David is, no walkover. However, this was probably one of the most talked about points of the weekend of the quarterfinals and semi-finals, in that Amo Singh dispatched of David in about 3 seconds with you couldn't have thrown a better shot, really. It was a very, very fast start from Amo, very intentful start, and got him out of there with one shot, which was, the place erupted. I'd managed to capture it on camera. Luckily, Amo did his bit and came over straight to the camera and gave me a little punch down the lens, which always looks fantastic, especially since I was shooting in slow motion. So, how it goes. It looks great. If you want to go and see the footage of that, it's on England Boxing's Instagram page, and well worth a look because it just looks great. I wanted to get it posted straight away. But yeah, no slight to David because, like I say, it's just one of those shots in amateur boxing that, unfortunately, they happen. And, no kind of... what am I trying to say? No kind of slight to the way he boxes. Like you say, he fought a very tough opponent the day before in the quarterfinals and boxed brilliantly there and looked very, very, like he belonged. So to go out with one shot, I can only imagine was devastating for him, but I'm sure he'll be back. But yeah, Amo Singh, what a shot. Like I say, one of the most talked about points of the weekend, and then moving into the finals very confidently. Of note also that weekend, and a boxer I've followed before, was Cameron Lewis. And I was so excited because this weekend served up a lot of rematches, which if you follow amateur boxing, you'll kind of be aware of who's faced who. Most boxers have faced each other a number of times. But these particular rematches fascinate me because they had been close before, let's say, very competitive bouts. So we had Cameron Lewis versus Dylan Burston scheduled for the quarterfinals, which I was really, really excited for. Having seen the pair clash heads, not literally clash heads, but clash in the pre-quarterfinals last year where Cameron took the win. But again, that was a very close competitive bout. I think I walked over to Dylan after that bout last year and gave him, the highest of props because very tough. When those two fought last time, it was absolute fireworks. And this time delivered exactly the same. I managed to talk with Dylan ahead of the bout, and here's what he had to say.
Non-stop action. Yeah, expect non-stop action. Expect good boxing, high level, high IQ. toughness, big shots, expect everything. Do you know what I mean?
Going for another stoppage, do you think?
Try to go for another stoppage, mate, of course, mate. Do you know what I mean? If I see it, I'll go for it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, Cam's class, lad. Do you know what I mean? He'll be thinking the same. So yeah, we're both ready for it. Do you know what I mean?
So as you can sense, moving into that quarterfinals day bout between those two, I was very excited. Dylan seemed very up for it. I knew Cameron would be. I didn't get a chance to catch him beforehand. But yeah, it was the bout that had a lot of eyes on it. A lot of people stopped to watch this particular matchup, and it delivered in every sense of the word. It was non-stop action, as Dylan promised. No boxer willing to take a backward step. I think I joked in the interview shortly after that bout that it was, my Gatti Ward of the amateurs, which, it can be a bit of a lazy cliche to draw on, but I thought it was very warranted in that respect. So yeah, Cameron took the win, but massive credit again to Dylan, who I think it was fair to say was a little bit disappointed coming out of that bout. I had a bit of a tricky one where that was one of the fights where I grabbed both boxers straight away because I knew they respected each other, very highly, and I wanted to grab them together to interview them together after the bout, whichever way it went. And so I did that immediately. And I think Dylan might have been slightly concussed. I'm not sure what the doctor actually ruled it as after, but we started the interview. It was going great, and then all of a sudden Dylan didn't feel too well, let's just say, and had to cut the interview short. But made sure he got to see the doctor, and I think he was all right after. But yeah, huge congratulations to both on what was a very exciting quarterfinals bout, and great for the boxing fan favourite, I'd say, especially for me. Getting to film that again was great. But yeah, Cameron took the win, and then Cameron moved on. Another strong performance for him in the semi-finals, and then into the finals. And Cameron is somebody I've followed kind of throughout the year. I mean, like, not loads, but I've been to his gym a few times. Terry Spencer's his, civilian gym. He boxes for the RAF, first and foremost. But seeing the work that he puts in the gym, everything from, the guy moved to Thailand for a few months to get in the best shape and continue training. Whereas someone like me would go there and think, right, I'm on holiday, I'm going to chill, relax, have a few drinks, whatnot. No, he went over there for a full-on fight camp, and the shape he came back in was unbelievable. I visited him at TS Boxing Stable, like I say, in Widnes, Terry Spencer's gym. Terry Spencer's a great coach, and has a great kind of stable of fighters there, including Ricardo Jenkins and a number of very, very talented amateurs as well. But yeah, needless to say, Cameron is around a lot of very good boxers, but holds himself to the highest standard, and went away, came back in the greatest shape. And I've seen all the work from last year to now that's gone in to get him over the line, because I think he went out of the contest last year I believe it was the quarterfinals, actually. He went out last year. Could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But he went out in one of the earlier stages of the national stages. But yeah, so it's so good to see him having grafted for so long, put in so much work, really has not taken his foot off the gas, and just kept going. And, the proof is in the pudding, as I say. He's now NAC champion and headed to the Four Nations in June, which will be really exciting. And I'm hoping to get back out there with England Boxing, do a bit more interviewing and more filming. But yeah, Cameron had a very good semi-finals, then moved on to the finals. And let me just check to see if I can find the scores on this one. But for anybody that's seen Cameron box, you'll know that he's just an absolute force to be reckoned with. He doesn't take a backward step, but he does like to be flash every now and again. And that's it. He fought Camille Nowak. I think I pronounced that right. Please, if I'm not, let me know. In the NAC finals. And after that, I interviewed him after. Do you know what? I'll put it in here. Here's what he had to say.
Cameron Lewis, what a performance. You must be over the moon.
Yeah, I'm over the moon, Luke. It's pretty much 5 years of hard work, or let's say the last 3 months of just dedication. And obviously this is a testament to me coaches, John Kearns from the RAF, my other RAF coaches, James, and obviously Terry Spencer, my civilian gym, and everyone that's worked with me has obviously got me to this moment. And yeah, I didn't imagine this when I was getting back into boxing, but yeah, I'm at the highest level of England boxing, yeah, so
made
You're
up.
literally number one in England right now.
Yeah, I can't believe it, to be fair. Hopefully, a stepping stone onto bigger and better things, yeah.
Talk to me about the bout then today. Obviously, kind of this similar thing. You had to dig deep at times. Talk me through that.
Yeah, I think my fitness work in the gym has carried me through this competition. I've set a really high pace in my quarter-final and in my semi-final, and that's just got me over the line. But I've boxed Camille twice before, so I was expecting a hard fight. He made some changes, and obviously I did get a win by 3-2 split, but respecting my opponent, Camille, yeah.
Was it key to that then, adaptability and being able to change the way you approach the fight?
Yeah, obviously I'm a bit of a pressure fighter, but I feel like I've got a couple of tools in my arsenal, like I've shown there. Sometimes I was on the back foot, showing off a bit of flash boxing. So I can do a bit of everything, but I do like to set a high pace, and obviously that's what I feel like has stood me in good stead to win the national title.
So yeah, like you mentioned there, it was great to see him do a bit more flash stuff, and I think he just wanted to show people that he's got more in the boxer tricks than just kind of stomping forward and being tough. We all know he's tough. He's got a good chin and hard as nails. And yeah, it was great to see a bit of flashness come out. Showed the judges that he was confident. Showed the judges that he thought he was up on the cards, which potentially went in his favour. I don't know if he would have necessarily needed those extra steps to win the bout. He is NAC champion, so you cannot contest his method, So well done, Cam. Very proud as a friend to have seen you, smash your way through the NACs, and now you are reaping the rewards, my friend. I think he has plans after the NAC, after the Four Nations, to go into the professional ranks. So stay tuned. Potentially an exclusive interview, or an interview at the very least about Cameron's venture into the professional ranks. I'll be sure to visit TS Boxing Stable in Widnes very shortly. So yeah, another boxer followed through the NACs. There were so many. Some others of note were, of course, Kai Batista, who I believe he went out to Luke Pryor last year in the quarterfinals, I want to say. Or it could have been semis, but it was on that weekend at least. And yeah, Luke Pryor went on to win the whole tournament, so there's that. But Kai Batista was coming back, and he was absolutely hell-bent on making sure he was going to become the NAC champion this year. And he fought a very tough opponent in the finals. And again, that was just no backward steps. But I did interview Kai after, because similar to Cameron Lewis, he's known for coming forward, being very tough, very durable, and having a chin, and not being afraid to kind of take 3 shots to give his best 4. So yeah, it was interesting to see his development this year. He was being a bit more flash in the semi-finals. There's some footage that I'd shot, and I think you'll be able to see that on England Boxing's Instagram account, where he's slipping, he's sliding. I think it happens from the outsider's perspective when he gets a bit more confident in a bout as the bout draws on. If he thinks he's up on the cards or is in control of the fight, then perhaps it's a bit of relaxing, a bit of right, I don't need to just prove how tough I am anymore. If he's already done that, he can kind of move forward and be a bit more flash. It was great to see, and it was great to hear how much the win meant to him, following on from last year's campaign. It was 2 for Kenton as well, with his partner Bobby Lee Burns winning the NAC Finals. So 2 for Kenton, and you cannot complain at that, really. But yeah, NAC Finals, what a tournament, what a campaign this year. Again, the best of the best in the country going head-to-head. As a fight fan, you just need to be there. And it was great to see the likes of Boxing News, Ringside, and also Sky News. Really, really great to see the Nationals get some mainstream coverage. So moving away from the amateurs for a little while, let's get into the professional ranks, where a lot has been chopping and changing, and it's been hard to keep up with, to be honest, between working and everything else. But I've done my very best. And I suppose on the top of the bill for me is the more recent Conah Walker versus Sam Eggington, the all-Midlands clash, and Conah Walker's homecoming in Wolverhampton. What a fantastic occasion, what a fantastic build-up, and a brilliant fight for both, who, have both had different careers in their own right, but both very, very very good and very tough fighters. So I was lucky enough to capture some of the fight week press activities, got to go to the press conference in Warsaw, where I managed to interview one of my all-time heroes, and that is, of course, the very, very well-respected, very well-known, much-loved journalist in Steve BUNCE. And here's what he had to say.
Steve, thank you so much for your time. First and foremost, an exciting press conference just there between Conah Walker and Sam Eggington and everybody on the undercard. How do you have the main event playing out?
Well, first of all, it's great for the area, for the region. You know, a big fight in Warsaw, a big fight in Wolverhampton, a big fight in Birmingham. We don't have that many big fights. There was a time in the 90s when we'd have the occasional British title fight in Warsaw, British title fight in Wolverhampton, and the occasional world title fight in Birmingham. I think that those three boxing hubs are short, and to get a fight with a local kid and then a kid from Birmingham, which is local enough, with all of the history attached to it, with all of the expectation, it's fantastic, really. I mean, no disrespect, but it's one of those matches. If we're sitting down 6 weeks ago in a local pub, drinking a proper bit of black country booze, and you said to me, Buncey, what's the best fight you'd like to see, a local fight? Do regions, do London, do Liverpool, do Manchester. I'd be thinking about them, but the Midlands, nah, straightforward, easy. Big Sam against Big Conah, simple as that. It would be the number one fight I'd put together for the Midlands.
The fight that sells itself, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it sells itself, and Sam was right. We could have gone bigger, but was it a 12,000 fight? No. Is it bigger than a 3,400? Yes. But so what? You know, make it so that it's an event. Make it so that no one will want to miss this next time, in which case we go to 10 or 12,000 in one of those horrible halls at the NIA or whatever it's called these days. NEC, I have no idea. I've never liked the place. It just doesn't work for me down there. It's neither here nor there. But maybe we go there. I mean, if we have got a genuine sellout here. I mean, so much so I know that you know, even the media, there were some restrictions. And that's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's brilliant for this area, brilliant for the region. You've got 4,000 or 3,000 something people coming into town. Taxis, hotels, restaurants, bars and shops. People forget that. When the Klitschko brothers fought all over Germany, they generated millions for that city. Sure, there were 20,000 in stadiums, 50,000 watched Tyson Fury against Vladimir 2015 November. But even on a smaller scale, 3,000 people arriving anywhere near a venue for a weekend, they're going to have some fun. They're going to spend some money. It's great for a city.
Yeah. Just in Sam's last fight against Lee Cutler, obviously he sustained that cut. Kerry Kayes did a terrific job in trying to
magician, Kerry Kayes.
trying to close it up. But unfortunately, it ended how it ended. Following on from that, Sam had made a comment about having the backing of everybody at Eastside and how great it was that they truly, thoroughly believed in him, John Pegg, everybody there. How important is that to have the backing of, you know, those close circles within your gym?
For local fighters who aren't on the rosters of the major promoters, and when you're on the roster of a major promoter, you're not really a local fighter anymore. You're an Eddie Hearn fighter, a Frank Warren fighter, a Mick Hennessy fighter, a Ben Chalon fighter. But John Pegg has worked tirelessly and doesn't get enough credit for what he's built at Eastside. And sure, he has better years than other years. And that's occasionally been the case. You know, he might have a really bad year one year, then another year he'll have him on a run, Shakan Pitters on a run. But Sam has just, you know, he's just got better and better, Sam. From the kid that could barely communicate, and that's not a slight, that's the fact. He was painfully shy, hated doing media. You know, he took his own with Conah Walker here today, and Conah Walker, by the way, is one of the top talkers and entertainers outside the ring in our business. And so I think it's brilliant that happens. And you could just see the different members of Eastside floating around in this press conference, packed out press conference here at this hotel. And it'll be the same on Saturday night.
Steve, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoy Fight Night.
My pleasure, thanks.
And of course, I also got to speak with Conah Walker himself, albeit a very tired and probably dehydrated, I suspect, Conah Walker at that point. He just seemed very tired, and it's a lot for a fight on a fight week to do all these press activities. And to be honest, this is going to sound a bit snobby, but I don't mean it to. But a lot of the media can get a bit samey. You know, how do you feel ahead of this fight? Blah blah blah. Which after you've answered those questions the first 3 times, it's just you're kind of on autopilot. So I had one question with him, and I tried to make it count. And so I wanted to ask him about John Pegg and co. and the prospect of John Pegg and co. having found something in Conah Walker in his game that they can exploit later on in the fight. And earlier on in the month, Conah Walker had spoke to IFL, I believe, saying that the idea of that excited him, got him up in the morning. So I wanted to know, just days removed from the fight now, was that still the case? Was he still thinking about, I wonder what they've found and, how exciting? And here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing for me throughout camp, thinking, this geezer's got something about me, something that I don't. Do you know what I mean? Because, if I was outside looking in, I'd be saying to Sam, stay away from Conah because I'm an handful. But look, it's this is boxing. We've all got to get paid and we've all got to go and fight. So, let's go and see who's the best man is.
So, yeah, very exciting to be at that press conference. There was all kinds of people there. Mick Conlon was there from he's from the same gym as Junaid Boston. Ollie Burrows was there, his first debut for Matchroom, which was very exciting, having seen him win the NACs last year and also box at the Three Nations. Very, very good fighter. He's one of those that I think, was being watched essentially by Sam Jones and Eddie Hearn, ahead of kind of signing with them. But I thought he dealt with the mainstream media very well. Every time I've interviewed him in the past, he's been very good on camera. I think he could be the next best thing for Matchroom, but time will tell. It was an impressive win for him. But yeah, the main event. Let's dive into this now because back and forth, very tough. But ahead of the fight, I'll say this much. I'm going to out myself here, but I had Sam Eggington winning this fight ahead of the fight because I thought the experience, the age, the durability of Sam. Yes, he's been in a lot of wars now, but he seems to just it's not like he's being chipped away at and like getting less and less each time. I feel like he's still the same tough Sam Eggington every time we see him out. He had that great fight against Lee Cutler last year where, unfortunately the bout got stopped due to a cut. How ironic, Lee Cutler. Kerry Case did his best in the corner, but it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be, and the fight went to the cards, and Sam won it that way. I'm sure not the way he wanted to win a fight. In fact, I'm positive not the way he wanted to win a fight, but that is boxing, unfortunately. So yeah, we know he's tough, and we also know Conah Walker's tough, but I thought Sam would win it. I thought the fact that Sam had fought Frankie Gavin those years before, that experience. Yes, Conah Walker's also had experience of an all-Midlands bout. I forget the name of his opponent now. But I think Sam versus Frankie Gavin was a kind of a bigger affair. And I did think, that would potentially play into it. Sam is notorious for not really caring too much about press duties or anything else around the fight, although he seemed to be in good spirits and, a good sport, doing the promos and stuff for Matchroom. But yeah, I did think he would win it. So I was, I suppose, surprised. If Conah Walker was going to win, I did think he would do it that way by taking him down the stretch and kind of chipping away like he does. I think everybody has said after the fight, post-fight, that they had Eggington up on the cards. Eggington was winning the rounds. Conah Walker was kind of coming back into the fight. But yes, stopped him in the 10th with a collection of very hard, horrible looking shots, putting Sam out on his feet, which nobody likes to see. But again, boxing will be boxing. Elsewhere in the boxing world, and I look ahead to what could be a crowning night for another West Midlands man. Olympic gold medalist Galal Yafai takes on Ricardo Sandoval at the Utilita Arena in Sheffield. Now the headline fight after Dalton Smith has pulled out from his bout with an injury. Unfortunate for him, but a massive stage for Galal and could be the greatest of crowning nights. Obviously, he trains in Sheffield with Rob McCracken, so he's very familiar with that area, and could be a very, very good night for the Birmingham man. He could make it 2 world champions for the Yafais, having put, Birmingham on the map, his brother Cal winning back a few years prior. So Galal will obviously look to put last year's kind of disastrous encounter with the Mexican Francisco Rodriguez behind him. I was there present for the fight week again for that fight, and all the press beforehand, and then the actual fight itself. Very, very tough watch, even from the stands, which is always a different experience. If you've been, if you've been to a boxing event, it's different watching it there as to, essentially watching on the TV. You miss kind of a fair bit being there, actually, which is always seems a bit strange. But yeah, from the stands, not a terrific watch. Quite scary, to be honest. Francisco was, just an absolute beast. Did not stop going forward. We since know has been, it made headlines after the controversial drug test results proved he was positive for a banned substance, leading to, I can't remember how long of a ban now. Let's just look this up because it was a number of years, I believe. But yeah, the whole affair was a bit messy, to be honest. So Galal Yafai will obviously be looking forward to putting that behind him. But, is there a question mark over this, over Galal's, abilities moving into this fight? How much is this bout with Rodriguez taken out of the Birmingham man? Here we go. It says Rodriguez was handed a 2-year ban from boxing in the UK on the 30th of March 2026 for his failed drug test following the fight with Yafai. The ban is retroactive and began on 30th of July 2025 and will end on 30th of July 2027. Furthermore, the result was eventually overturned to a no contest on March 30th, 2026. Doesn't say what drug he was popped for. However, not great for the Mexican. Not great for the Birmingham man either. So, time will tell. But I do firmly believe this is going to be Yafai's night and another Birmingham champion. Fantastic for the area, fantastic for the West Midlands, fantastic for the Yafai brothers, and of course Birmingham City Boxing Club, which they help run collectively. Couldn't happen to a better man. So let's all get behind him. Let's get behind our man and make sure he comes home with the championship. Moving on from that, let's just touch on where have I been. So I've had a great time really as a boxing fan. I've been, like I say, to the press conference for the Conah Walker Sam Eggington fight. I've been to Sky Sports News, which was a dream come true. I managed to visit the recording of the Toe to Toe podcast with Andy Scott and Gary Logan. Really, really exciting day, and there was plenty going on. Like I said, the Zuffa Boxing 07 show is headed to the UK for the first time ever. Zuffa Boxing heading to the UK, and it's going to be in Bournemouth with Chris Billam-Smith versus the Canadian Ryan Rizicki, the Bruiser, they call him. So it is the Bruiser versus the Gentleman for the first ever Zuffa Boxing in the UK. And how strange is it going to be to see Dana White if he comes over in Bournemouth? Maybe eating some fish and chips on the beach, who knows? But yeah, so exciting to visit Sky News. All the media duties were happening that day, so got to see the fighters, got to spend a lot of time with Jack Massey and Chris Billam-Smith and a bit with Ryan Rizicki, who's a man of very few words unless you talk to him about Jack Dempsey, as you'll see in the coming days. Yeah, I can't say too much about what I saw, obviously, because there's a lot of promotional stuff going on, but thank you so much to the Sky Sports Boxing team for having me, and you've lit a fire under me. I really, really want to work for you guys. I want to be part of your team. So that is the goal moving forward. I've never felt more at home around, a team of people. They are genuinely through and through boxing fans, which, I'll say this much. You don't always get that when you go to these kind of broadcasters or media companies. Sometimes there's people working within boxing that aren't always boxing fans, which is fine. But to be around such, enthusiastic boxing fans also working in boxing, it was just something that you look at and you think, I could do this forever for the rest of my life and be happy. So yeah, here's hoping, here's to working to make that dream a reality. And like I say, not loads I can say on that, but that fight between Jack Massey was announced and Chevon Clark, sorry, just kind of mispronounced that, but yeah, two very good sports actually. They shook hands after kind of going live on Sky Sports and basically said, see you fight night, which was incredible to see up close and personal. But yeah, what a fight Chris Billam-Smith versus Ryan Rizicki is going to be. Ryan Rizicki has 21 wins, I believe 20 by knockout, and a number of those in the first 3 rounds. A force not to be overlooked. He likes to sit there and just have a war. But actually, what was interesting to hear from him is there's a lot of nuances that go into that. So it's not just, from the outsider's perspective, it looks like he's just taken a lot of damage and given a lot of back. But what he was actually discussing with Andy Scott and Gary Logan was there's more to it than that. And there's little things you'll do on the inside that people don't necessarily see, which, makes you a bit more of a cuter fighter than just a come forward lump, But Chris Billam-Smith seems very prepared, seems very mentally switched on and sharp. And of course, he's in great hands with the McGuigans as well. So I can't wait for that. That comes at the same day as the Galal Yafai fight, which is on June the 6th. So Galal Yafai will take on Ricardo Sandoval June 6th in Sheffield. Chris Billam-Smith will take on Ryan Brzezicki June 6th in Bournemouth. Which one will you be at? Let me know in the comments below. Fantastic to get back on, do a podcast, and this one's audio only. Maybe I'll carry on doing that moving forward because it just seems like a quicker way to get stuff out. And I'm going to try and be less perfect and just be a bit more real. So if you like that, let me know in the comments. If you want me to go back to a bit more scripted, or if you don't want me to do solo podcasts and just want guests on, then let me know as well. But yeah, thanks as always for tuning in. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for supporting the channel. And every like, share, subscribe, comment, everything all counts. And it all keeps me going through my night shifts and grafting away to make this dream a reality. So yeah, thank you. And I'll catch you in the next one.